Good morning, everyone. You are back for another day of Grief Support Group. This is Grief Support Group, where I talk all things pop culture, my research on grief and media, and answer your advice questions. Okay, so last week I was in a really good mood, okay? This week we will see what happens. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli, and we're in for a show, okay? I think this week, as many know, obviously, it was Halloween last weekend, and so I am among the many who went out last weekend. And let me be clear, like, I don't go out that often. Like, I'm 29, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like when you're 21, 22, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna, like, who wants to get a beer? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're always like, let's go get a beer, let's go talk over a beer, like, it's after work one day, let's all do it. I don't do that anymore. So when I drink now, I can count on my hand how many times I've drank this year. And 2 of them were this weekend. And it got weird, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like when everyone's drinking, there's something about going out like in San Francisco that always ends up weird to me. Like, I don't know, there was this moment where, and mind you, I'm dressed as Sabrina Carpenter in the Feather music video when she's in the church. And that's an iconic moment because, like, it turned into a whole thing. Like, I feel like the mayor of New York City got involved because people got mad she did it in the church. I don't know. It was a whole thing. I actually don't remember the story. Maybe I should have been prepared. But it's like this black outfit, black veil. Like, she has like a cross, like big, like costume jewelry cross, and then like heels and whatever. I did not do like the curtain bang like Sabrina Carpenter is known for. I almost bought bangs online, but then I'm like, I do feel like there's better ways to spend $10. Almost cut my bangs, but then I was like, do I want? No. And so either way, it was a great outfit. People didn't particularly know what I was right away. I think they did once I said it, or maybe they just said, oh, politely. But people thought I was some sort of just like entity. Oh, and a black veil. I forget if I said that. So like, it was fun to walk in places with the veil on, regardless. So imagine someone in this outfit. I actually told Jack I was scared people would think I was a loofah because like I was wearing like this big tutu as like a dress. Yeah, but no one thought I was a loofah, so that's good. But anyway, I had drinks, and then at the bar we were at, like, I remember there was a person in one of those like plague doctor masks talking to me and my best friend. We were like, what do you, like, we don't know what you're saying, you know? We're like, what's going on? But I feel like it was one of those things where like I was talking and coherently too, but like I don't recall what was going on. Anyway, so all this to say is it was a wild weekend, and we're back, and I feel like we're still adjusting. Like and then Saturday night was my husband's birthday. And that was fun as well. We had a party at my friend Brandon's in the Mission. Shout out to Brandon. It was a good time. But once again, it's just like the drinks kept happening. And mind you, less than 5 times this year. I'm 29. It's just like not how it goes anymore. But we're back. We're good. It's fine. We're having a good time. Halloween is over. Now we're in November. I don't know how. Trying to finish my thesis. Trying to have a full draft finished tonight, because I am going to Roma, Italia. Yes, I'm going to Italy for the first time. I'm so excited, next week. And so I really need to get my ducks in a row before next Thursday, which is when the flight is. I'm so nervous. I've just never flown that far, and then I feel like I have so much to do before. But once again, I've said it before and I've said it, I'll say it again, I will be changed. I will be a changed woman after I go to Italy. It's my coming of age at 29. Okay, so I wrote a few like ins and outs of the week. Well, okay, I guess we should say this. So I'm going to have this little beginning segment, ins and outs of the week, and then I wanted to share some things on my mind. Next, I'm going to do a little bit of a thesis update. It's not going to be crazy because I need a break, okay? I need to just discuss whatever. So we didn't get any dating advice questions this week. So what we're going to do instead is have a little bit of a dating conversation, okay? And then after that, we have 2 advice questions today. So one is about handling a friendship after a parent has passed away. And the other one is about helping a friend who self-sabotages. So we will get into these both today. But first, I wanted to get into some ins and outs of the week, because I feel like it's really important to like constantly evaluate like your interests and tastes like at all moments. I'm constantly thinking about it. So let me share. I wrote this out and I will give some explainers, okay? So ins of the week. 1, making coffee at 6:30 p.m. I don't know who else feels this way. I can have like 2 shots of espresso at like 8 p.m. and still go to bed before 1, I would say. Last night, I don't know what time I ended up going to bed. I ended up stop working on my thesis at like 12:30 because I was like, you know what, this is a problem for tomorrow. Let me cut it here. Let me play my Sudokus, because my mind isn't right if I'm not playing Sudoku. So I had to do those. But I feel like it's really fun to like come home from school or come home from work or whatever it is and have a coffee. Having coffee is my favorite time of the day. So why not do it twice? Okay. Next, telling the class you teach that you're obsessed with them, because I think it's really important to do so. And I am obsessed with them. Next, wearing tights. And this is something I did yesterday, and someone complimented my outfit and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I was going for like a dark academia look because I had like a turtleneck, a sweater that if you see me today, I'm also wearing today. That's another story. And then I wore like a skirt, black tights, and like black loafers. That being said, wearing tights that are the same color as your shoes. Okay, I saw this look and I forget who was wearing it, but someone was wearing like a red platform with red tights and like a red like mini dress for like the holiday season last year. I was like, I forget. I was looking at someone's Instagram. It was a celebrity or maybe someone I knew, or I don't know. This is what happens when you scroll on Instagram too long. You lose track. But they had that outfit on and I was like, wait, I love the monochromatic. So that's in. I decided as of 2 days ago. Another in, eyeliner. I love wearing eyeliner now because I had to for my costume on Friday for the Sabrina Carpenter look. And I think the thing with eyeliner is you just have to do it. Like if the eyeliner pen senses fear, it will self-destruct. But if you have a steady hand, a steady heart, like it will be good. Next, those little sticker tabs you put in a book when annotating. I really like those because I feel like they make a book look cute. Like I have this heavy ass textbook in my bag. And I have the little pink stickers on it because the textbook has some like pink in the front cover. Love it. It's more fun than actually like reading the contents of the book. And then finally, playing Sudoku to get my mind right. And what I mean by that is procrastinate, but it's important to do those things. It's important to self-care, you know what I mean? And self-care is Sudoku. Okay, outs of the week. Times New Roman. You're done, okay? It's all about Georgia. I've rebranded. Next, being scared to do eyeliner. You're done, okay? We're not scared of you. I own you, you know what I mean? Next, chicken leftovers, because they taste too chickeny. So I think many of you know, but my dad wrote a cookbook that has all like my grandma's recipes and like family stories and stuff. There's this amazing recipe for like a roast chicken with potatoes and peas, and like I'm a stuffing gal. Like I've always loved stuffing, and people who don't like stuffing like don't have, I don't know, like my grandma's recipes, like the stuffing that is my grandma's recipe is so good. And every Thanksgiving, that's my favorite food. And when I have this roasted chicken, that is my favorite part of it. Anyway, Jack made it the other day. My husband, Jack. I was so excited. It was so good. And so yesterday I was like, yeah, I'm about to have my leftovers. We ate all the stuffing, so there was no stuffing. And then the chicken, I was like, why does this taste like chicken? I feel like a chicken leftover does not work. Know what leftover does work is pasta fazool leftover. That's what works. Chicken, that does not work. Okay, another out is hazelnut syrup for my coffee. You're done. I feel like I liked it for a while. Now I like vanilla syrup, but I ran out. So and when I say Jack makes my coffee most of the time, but a little bit, like a little spoonful, not a full spoon, but of brown sugar. It's not as good as vanilla, but it's better than hazelnut. finally, having to use Jack's Head and Shoulders shampoo because I did finally go to Walgreens. So we're good there. I got my shampoo. We're fine. Okay, thank you. That has been our ins and outs of the week. Yeah, I think it's really important to self-evaluate and come back to where you stand on certain subjects, and that's where I stand on mine. One last thing I want to say before we get into our first music break is I don't know. So obviously most of you know, but I'll repeat it just in case. My parents have both passed away, and I think I've been thinking about both of them all the time. Like, when I say I've been thinking about them a lot, like, it's not that it's different than every other time. It's more like I'm in the mood to self-reflect in a way, or like really think about it, because I think about them all the time. But I think in particular, like yesterday, the day before today, like I've been thinking about my mom a lot. And it's weird because, like, I don't know, I used to, now I'm gonna cry, but I used to call her for literally everything. Well, we lived together literally most of my life. Like, I lived in LA for a year and a few months, but other than that, and then her last few months, we had moved to the East Coast because she's from Massachusetts and wanted to be there after she got sick. And so she lived by my sister's law school. Her and my sister lived together. And then I was outside of Boston. But other than that, we literally always lived together. And like, I would be an undergrad living at home with her, and I would still call her all the time. Like, I'd call her when I was on the way to school. When I was walking between classes, I would be calling her. So like, the first 25 years of my life, I didn't know like a life without talking to my mom all the time. And then the last almost 4 years, I've had to know that life. I don't know. So I've just been thinking about her a lot. I think, like, with the crazy parties I went to this weekend and working on my thesis and about to go to Italy, like, her and I wanted to go to Italy together. She had never left the country. She had been to Canada and Mexico, but other than that, she had never like flown out of the country before. And like I remember in like 2018, 2019, we had a goal that we would try to go to Italy together in 2020. Obviously that didn't work out. I don't know. So I guess part of like me going to Italy feels like it's for her in a way, and for my dad too. My dad's Italian, and he had gone when he was I believe 19 and like early 20s. He had gone twice in his life. So I guess, I don't know. I've been thinking about her a lot, as I always do, but especially because I would love her opinions on things. I would love for her to be like along for the ride for my thesis. I would love to show her Italy. Like, I wish she was there, but if she was alive and it was still just me and Jack going on my honeymoon, mind you, I would bring my mom on my honeymoon. Like, I wouldn't care. I feel like that'd be so fun. But yeah, I wish she was here for all of it. And I think as I'm doing this radio show, which I love to do, I think of like how much she would love to listen to it. All the like podcasts I've done, all the radio shows I've ever done. She always listened to and was my biggest fan. I remember when I did my radio show in undergrad, like, she was always like sharing it and telling people to listen. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big loss, but I think about it all the time again, but in particular, I've been thinking about it a lot. So I just wanted to share, and maybe somewhere, some way she's listening to this too. So, okay, I'm going to go cry now, but we'll take a little bit of a music break, and then we'll get into a thesis update, a dating conversation, and then get into our advice questions. I'll see you soon. Okay, we are back. You just listened to Running Out of Time by Lil Yachty and Main Thing by Ariana Grande. So the thing is, and the truth is, and I forgot if I said this last week, and if I did, it's an important PSA, so we will hear it again. I wasn't always sure about Positions, the album by Ariana Grande, okay? That song is from Positions, but I have students in my class who are obsessed. They say that's her best album. And when I say I wasn't sure, I loved the album objectively. Like, objectively, I thought it was really good. But for me to be really obsessed with music, I think I have to like relate it to a certain point in my life. So for Sweetener, like that was when I was living in LA, and that's when I became an Ariana fan. And I think it reminds me a lot of like the whimsy of graduating from undergrad and living on my own and in LA, and I don't know, having fun and having new experiences and dating and making new friends and all these things. That's what Sweetener reminds me of. And Positions, because it came out in the pandemic when I was doing horribly, that's kind of what I was thinking of sometimes when I thought of the album. But I think I'm in a point in my life right now, and me and I keep talking about Jack this episode, I guess shout out to him, but me and my husband Jack were talking about it because I was kind of reflecting on it, and I'm like, I'm really in a place that I feel like happy. I don't think I've ever been unhappy, but I feel in a better mental place now than I have since like, I don't know, 2018. I feel like I don't know, like I feel really happy teaching. I feel really happy, even though it's stressful AF, because I can't cuss on here. I feel like happy working on my thesis and happy having all these ideas. Like this is fun. Like I'm having fun. And I'm having fun in a way that I haven't in a really long time, I think. And that doesn't take away from like, I don't know, this stage I'm in now where like obviously like I'm crying about missing my mom. Like that's going to happen throughout my life, and that it doesn't mean I'm not doing well. It just means I don't know, I'm doing differently, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that being said, like because so many students in my class love Positions, I've been listening to it a lot more. I'm like, wait, this song slaps. Yeah, that song's good. Wait, this is a good one. And now I've been listening to the album over and over and over. And I'm like, wait, now this album is going to remind me of this semester. And then in a way too, it reminds me of like 2020, which was like, my mom was starting to get sick at the time that Positions album came out. But we didn't know yet anything about it, which obviously it was hard to see her in pain, but like she was still doing like well, and like it's almost like the last bit of normalcy of like my mom is when that album came out, even though the pandemic was going on and it was just like an insane time. I don't know, like it reminds me of my mom too. It's the last Ariana album that came out when my mom was alive. So like I think all these things together are making Positions be one of my favorite albums. Sweetener is still number one of all time and of all Ariana albums, but I think Positions has its place in my favorite albums of all time, and certainly my favorite Ariana albums. I think it's number two. So congrats, Positions, you won this round. Okay, so we are now in the part of, oh my God, this is also Grief Support Group, and I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. But we're in the part of the show where we talk about my thesis, which is a very scary place to be. And then we're also going to have a little bit of a dating conversation, because the two advice questions I got today are both a little like grief or mental health heavy. And so I wanted to have a fun little conversation about dating, especially because I don't want to talk about my thesis that much right now. Like I'm going to go work on that after this class. I'm actually also going to be taking yoga today because I literally need the stress relief. So hopefully all will go well. Wish me luck. But I just wrote in my notes, thesis is ... LMFAOOO. And then I also wrote that I cried last week, because I did. After class on Tuesday last week, I cried to my professor. I cried to my classmate / friend. Like it was one of those days, one of those weeks. So I'm stressed. Obviously, it's a lot of stress before Italia, and before I go to Italy and be changed. But yeah, it's just a lot of stress in general. So hopefully we'll get it done. And hopefully I have a good update for you all. Okay, now we're done with you. We're done with you, thesis. You're done. Let's talk about dating, because I had briefly mentioned last week, because we had an advice question about situationships, and I was like, wait, what do you want out of this situationship? And I was saying like, ooh, do you want to be friends with them? And I was saying how much I would love to be friends with an ex, but no exes want to be friends with me. And when I say ex, I've only had like one official like boyfriend, and it was for like 3 months, so it wasn't anything crazy. So I've had that. And then I've had like a few, I don't know, you have your like big like situationships, I guess, like the big ones that had happened, or maybe they weren't even big, but they were significant in some way. So I'm including those just for sake of this conversation in the ex category. Again, none of them want to be friends, but I was really curious how you all felt about this. So I did a poll. The sampling size was 52 votes for the first 2 questions. The last one, because it was about being friends with me, if I were your ex, that one got less that one got less votes, okay? But the sample size for would you be friends with an ex? Okay, no. I asked 2 questions. Sample size 52 votes. I asked, are you friends with any of your exes? And then I asked, would you be friends with an ex? Because I want to know, okay? And let's just say there's some problems with this study. One, it was conducted on my personal Instagram. 2, like, people could be lying. We have no idea if they're telling the truth. This was not anonymous. I could see the answers. So who knows who's actually telling the truth? 3, who knows what would make someone be friends with an ex and what would make them not? I think there's circumstances like let me say this. I had a situationship, one of the major ones, like and he and I were like really good friends too. But I consider this like the most major situationship because it was one of those, I always talk about this, how everyone has someone like, it's not like the one that got away because I don't want that, but it's more like a major situationship that you thought that was the love of your life, didn't work out, of course, and then you kind of had to like work through that, you know what I mean, like a little bit. And so mine of that treated me very poorly, especially because we were really good friends. And so, but I would still be friends with him. I think I'm someone, because I have, like, for example, friend breakups, I probably couldn't name, I could name one that I probably wouldn't want to be friends with again. But I'm not someone who holds grudges necessarily. Like, I would say I hold grudges for a few years, but once it gets to a certain point, and then I kind of like forget about it and don't care. And when I say I would be friends with someone, like who I used to be friends with, like saying ex-friends, I don't mean like I'd be best friends with them again, but like I would be friendly. And when I say with the exes too, like I don't want to be best friends with these people, like no. But I would be like friendly with them. I would get a drink one-on-one with them, like, you know what I mean? Although I don't want to get a casual beer. I would get a boba with them and have a chat. Be like, wait, let's reflect. Like, I love nostalgia. I love reflection. I love deep conversations that are fleeting. You know what I mean? Like, I love the concept of, that's why I loved my 10-year reunion. Like, I love getting together, high school reunion. Like, I love getting together and like sharing a really intimate time and then like not talking again for a while. Like, I find that really fun. So that's why I'd be friends with an ex. And that's what I mean. I don't want them like, I don't know, like I don't want them at my house every week for Sunday dinner, but like, yeah, I'd be friends with people. Okay. So, again, are you friends with any of your exes was one of the first questions I asked. And 52 vote sample size, 19% voted yes, they are friends with their exes, one of their exes. 81% voted no. So as you can see, major majority, most people are not friends with an ex. Next question, would you be friends with an ex? Okay, this gets more interesting. 48% voted yes and 52% voted no. Now, that's interesting. So people would. People haven't, but people would. And let me say this, because I'm curious if age has to do with anything. I did not want to make assumptions. I feel like I know some of the ages of the people who voted. Obviously, it's my personal Instagram, but like I didn't want to go through and like calculate each person's age because I have a lot going on, okay? But I wonder if people are not friends with any of their exes because these are exes from like when you were 22 and it was like, you know, like someone did you really dirty. But like if they had a person now that they dated for a year, say, and it didn't work out, maybe they would be friends with that person. So I wonder if like in their late 20s or 30s, like I wonder if that has to do anything with it. I don't know. Or I wonder if, like theoretically you would, but a lot of people are out here with exes that don't want to be friends. And then there's a question of who would reach out first. So there's a student in my class. He's so great. He was saying that he's friends with an ex. They partied this weekend together. And that ex reached out to my student first. So my question here is, are people just not reaching out and everyone is dying for connection? It's something to think about. It's something to think about. Okay, but we have to be self-aware about it because again, you all know I've had a dating podcast. I can't say I'm a perfect ex, okay? I have reached out to these exes to ask them to be on podcasts. And some said no in a very rude way. Some didn't answer. So like this has happened in the past. You know what I mean? Like, again, I have not reached out to any of them since like 2019, 2020. But I have in the past and it was not well received. If I reached out to someone now, would it be different? I actually don't think so. I don't think any of them would want to talk. But hey, if you are in a position and you want to be friends with an ex, reach out to them. You know what I mean? Like we're there. It's all about human connection. Let's make our communities wherever we can get them. And an ex, you never know, it could be the greatest friend you've ever had. Finally, I asked one more question. I said, would you be friends with me if I were your ex? Because I was like, let's talk about it. And I said, there is a caveat here that I probably would podcast and write about you because that's just what I do. 74% said yes, yay, and 26% said no. The 26% who said no, you're done. Just kidding. We validate all opinions here. Maybe not those. No, we do. But yeah, no, I think it's important to be friends with me if I'm your ex because I think I'm a really fun friend. Maybe. We'll see. Okay. Lastly, I wanted to share this thing that I saw in The Cut. And they did an article called Be More Cringe in Dating. Sincerity can feel gross at first, but the reward is a sexier, more adult romantic life. And I just thought that was really interesting because I think we're in a time, and I actually talked about this with my students regarding like the creation of their radio shows and of like social media posts and stuff for their shows at the beginning of the semester. But I think we talk about like the word cringe a lot. And I think it's something, I don't know if I'm Gen Z or not. I'm like right in the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, but like I think it's something especially like people in their kind of early 20s now are saying like things are cringe. And I think as like someone who is now in their late 20s and like when I was in college age, like I feel like cringe didn't matter as much. Like I feel like you could kind of earnestly be cringe and no one would call you cringe, whereas now cringe is a concept people are constantly like grappling with and trying to avoid. I don't know. So I liked this article. I thought it was interesting because it was talking about how like to be cringe is to be free, and like you go into dating kind of like having fun and being earnest and being yourself, and it's going to lead to more earnest like reception back to you. I don't know. I loved that. I highly recommend anyone reading it if you're dating or just if you're curious about like the way people are talking about dating and the zeitgeist now and stuff. But I think to be cringe is an important thing. And I think all my exes should heed that advice and be cringe and reach out to me and ask to be friends. I feel like that'd be really fun. That'd be fun. If I could have an ex come on this show, that'd be great. Like I feel like we could really talk a lot. Okay, so you are listening to Grief Support Group. We are about to roll into our advice questions, but first we'll listen to a song or two. We're definitely running low on time, but we have 2 advice questions today. And if you want to ask an advice question for a future show, you can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's do a little bit of a song break and I'll see y'all soon. Okay, welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli, and it is time to get into our lovely advice questions that we received this week. Okay, so getting into the first one, and I have a lot of opinions about it. So first person asked, can you please give advice on how to navigate this situation with my friend? I am at a loss of what to do at this point. They said, my dad died 10 months ago, and it was really unexpected. During the week after he died, I had a friend offer to bring over dinner. Her dad had passed the year prior, and I was grateful to have someone to lean on who gets it, especially because most of my close friends/family aren't nearby. She ended up saying there was too much traffic and said I should come over to her house next week, which I absolutely did not have the energy to do. I was so deep in my grief and just shock at that time that I didn't realize how hurtful it was until I had a moment to process it later. I thought maybe it was too much for her, but she has historically only done what was convenient for her and our friendship. She started to randomly text me, a hug and heart emoji on Father's Day, and just wanted to say I'm thinking of you text every few months. She texts me thinking of you again this week, but she's never asked how I'm doing beyond these texts. I don't know what to do at this point because it just feels so surface level. Would love your advice. Okay. I really, really love this question. Thank you so much for asking it. I think this is a really hard thing to navigate. And when I say this, I mean friendships in grief or after death or when you're grieving. Or I don't know, in general, when you've experienced grief, you know what I mean? I think losing my dad, like I wasn't thinking about it that much because I was kind of uncomfortable talking about grief after my dad died. So it never felt like, and I don't think I really processed it until like in 2020 when I was seeing death and grief so prominently talked about in media. That's what made me start to really process like his death and what had happened in my own grief. But I don't think before that I was really like, I was kind of like attracted, and I don't mean like romantically or physically, but like I was attracted to people who had also experienced grief. Like if someone else had lost their dad or whatever, like I kind of felt a kinship to them, but I wasn't really like needing that sort of nuance in the friendships that I had around me. But after my mom died, like that all sort of flipped and changed. Like I don't feel like I can be close with someone unless they've either experienced grief or can like openly discuss it and try to understand like my experiences, if that makes sense. Because like this is something that you are going to have come up the rest of your life in some capacity. Like there's always going to be something new with your grief. That being said, I don't know how close you are to this friend. If this is a close friend, to me, inexcusable. I think the thing that like pissed me off the most about what you said this friend did is that they said, oh, too much traffic. Like, sorry, I can't come. Like, no, F that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like unrelated to it being the week your dad died, because that's like actually horrendous that you said she did this. But like if I was supposed to hang out with a friend and they told me, sorry, traffic's too bad. Like, you know where we live. Like, you know what the traffic patterns are. Unless there's like some crazy traffic on the Bay Bridge or something and it's different than normal because there was like an accident, then come over tomorrow then. Like what do you mean there's too much traffic? You know the traffic patterns of the city. And so that pisses me off. The fact that happened the week after your dad died and she never came over and then tried to get you to come over to her place. No, that's inexcusable to me. I was living, as mentioned, in Boston after when my mom passed away, and like which we did. I don't regret it because my mom wanted to be back on the East Coast for her final months. I don't regret it. And I wanted to live somewhere new. Like I also wanted, it was kind of my decision that we all moved to the East Coast. But I in ways like that was really hard because I think I felt so isolated. But that being said, even though my close people were in California and then I had some in New York, like my best friend and her now husband, like they flew and visited me 2 weeks after my mom died. My childhood best friend who lives in New York, she drove up, like made me chicken pot pie, like we hung out for a day. Another good friend I have in New York, like he came up and visited me for a couple of days. Like I don't feel like if you live in the same place and there's traffic, God forbid, literally the most normal like thing to happen in a commute, I think that's inexcusable. Like you're done. I keep saying you're done today, but she's done. That's a bad friend. And I do have some empathy because she also has lost her dad. And, for me, a few years out from losing my mom, if I'm not super close with someone and they are going through a death and grief, I find it hard to be there for people who aren't my close friends. Admittedly, I find it really hard. And sometimes I do this is just me being devil's advocate. This is not like me excusing her for you. But like some people that I'm not as close with, I will send a thinking of you because I would find it hard to engage in conversation sometimes. And I don't want that person to feel like they have to reply either. Even though we're missing out on that human connection of being like, how are you? Or just calling someone. Admittedly, like I'm not someone who's good at keeping in touch. I think that's one of my like worst faults. Like I'm really bad at keeping in touch with people. I wish I was better. So the thing you're saying she is doing now, I can admit I have done that before. That being said, I still think what happened the week your dad died and her saying the traffic is to me, it's a friend breakup thing. Like I'd be done. And I think the fact that you're thinking about this so much, it does feel surface level, like you said. And I think you should evaluate if this is a friend you want to keep, because you could have a conversation with her. You could say, that was really messed up that you did that. And you said there was traffic and I have not seen you in the last 10 months since my dad died. You could do that. Or again, I admit my faults. I'm bad at keeping in touch with people. And what that means is that when I have a friend breakup, I don't always communicate the best. And I've had friends that I cut out after my mom died because, I won't get into it only because we're running out of time. But I had a friend break up, a year and a half after my mom died because, my father-in-law, Jack's, stepdad died a year and a half after my mom died. And so I feel like there was a lot going on with that. And I had a friend really like not understand it. And I was like, you're done. Again, I keep saying you're done, but she was done. And I admittedly did not offer an explanation. But I don't think it warranted it. It was kind of a culmination of things of her being unsupportive and she was done. So I think you need to decide what you want from this person. Is this a friendship that you want to continue and you want to have a conversation with it and you think she will be receptive? Or like you said, she's someone who kind of historically is only done what's convenient for her in your friendship. So evaluate if that's what it's going to be, and maybe this is not a friend you want to have in your life. I'm really sorry you're going through this. I think I really struggle with friendships who weren't there for me and friends who now I can't like have those open conversations with and who don't understand the nuances of what I'm going through and have gone through. And you deserve friends who are going to understand you and be there for you, because there are friends who are going to understand you and be there for you. And we have a long life, and I do think it's important to be in touch with people and whatever and be in community. And obviously I just had a whole conversation about being friends with your ex. And maybe this means not being friends with her for a bit, and maybe in 2 years you'll come together and she'll grow and you'll grow and it'll be a good timing then. But do what's best for you now. You can have a conversation with her, or you can not have a conversation with her, or you could just keep it surface level and in your head know that that's what it is, and that's what you guys' friendship is. Okay, I hope this is helpful. I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it wasn't, because there's a lot of layers and nuance there, but I think you have to do what's best for you. And if that means distancing yourself, or if that means having a conversation with her, do that. Okay, we are going to get into one more song break, and then we'll get into our final advice question. Here we go. Okay, welcome back to the final segment of Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. You just heard Boy's a Liar Part 2. That was the song in 2023. A great one. It came on shuffle yesterday, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is a really good song. Okay, let's get into our final advice question, because we are running out of time. But this person asked, how do I help my friend who really self-sabotages themselves? They are going through a tough time 24/7, it seems, and I feel as though I'm watching them hurt themselves. For example, self-deprecating comments, substance abuse, and no impulse control. Okay, thank you for asking this question. And I want to say something that I wrote down after I read this question. And I am not saying this at all to dismiss or diminish what this friend is going through, but more to, I don't know, kind of offer a potential helpful framework for thinking about this. Again, this is not to make light of it, but I think, I don't know how old you are, but if you are in your late 20s like me, I feel like this is happening more in our age, and I feel like it's low-key a Saturn return thing. And again, even if you don't believe in astrology, I think it's pretty socially understood that in your late 20s you are going through a lot of changes, and you are figuring yourself out, and you're figuring out your career and your place in this world and all of those things. So I think we're at an age where people are kind of struggling with that and struggling with their coming into their own. And so I think I always talk about this, and I've talked about this before, community is at the forefront of everything in life. I think it's all about community. And I think by asking this question and by having this friend in your life, you obviously value them as part of your community. And I think you need to continue being there for them. At the same time, I think you want to strike a balance, because you want to help them, but I think it could be one of those situations where they have to figure it out on their own, and you have to let them. And the best thing you can do is to be there for them and be their friend, and I don't know, be a listening ear and a someone to hang out with and someone to confide in that they have. But ultimately, I think people have to maybe sometimes go through this alone and feel it alone. Again, in community, but I hesitate to say, oh, have a conversation with them about it, because I guess it depends to what level it is for them. But I mean, I think sometimes we have to let people figure it out. I don't know. I hate that advice, because obviously, I want to say, I don't know, have a conversation and whatever. But I feel like if a friend is doing that, the best thing you can do is be a friend to them. And I think sometimes being a friend to them just means being a listening ear for them and being around them and helping them and always being there for them. I don't know. Does that make sense? I feel like community is so important. But I think ultimately, if someone's not seeking therapy, they're not going to go because a friend tells them to. They're going to go when they're ready to go. And even if they go to therapy when a friend tells them to, or whatever it may be, they're not going to gain anything from it necessarily, because if they're not ready for that, they're not ready for that. So yeah, balance that, being in community with them and helping them and letting them figure it out on their own. I hope that is helpful. I wish I could expand on more also, but unfortunately I have a time limit on this show. I could talk for 20 hours, okay? But if you want to ask advice for a future question, you can do so, or a future show, oh my God. If you want to ask, I don't know what I'm saying, you can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. That is bit.ly/KSFS advice. Okay. Once again, I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. You have just listened to Grief Support Group. I will see you all next time. Have a great rest of your days. Bye.